Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Ladies, gentlemen, friends, foes, lurkers, regulars, GMO people, organic people.
Wheel room inbound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome everybody. Let me turn this up, get this one loud. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to the show. I am Hesher, and this is the Boiler Room. Thank you for joining us tonight for this live broadcast over here at alternatecurrentradio.com, Spreaker.com, YouTube. What's up? Rockfin, what's going on? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. It is October the 6th, 2022. There are many who would say, if you currently support the organization BLM, you are supporting a Marxist authoritarian political action committee who will steal your money for their own enrichment. There are many who would say, if you currently support the coup-fid narrative, still 3 years down the road, if you still mask and distance and push for gene jabs, you're carrying water for the largest corporate criminal organization in the history of the United States. There are many who would say, if you currently support the idea of a war with Russia, you're actively supporting a mutually assured apocalyptic Holocaust. There are many who would say, if you currently support the Democrat-run government, you're promoting and complicit in a coup by said Marxist authoritarian usurpers. There are many who would say that if you are shutting people down for having questions about vote integrity in any election, other than the 2016 one, that you are supporting that coup that America is in the grips of. Am I one of those people that would say these things? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Are you one of the people that are thinking these things? Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. One thing I do know is this. If you are the type of person that would even pontificate on those topics, out loud or digitally, the social media companies have targeted you. The banking industry has targeted you. The mass media has targeted you. The school system, the city council, they may have targeted you too. The IRS and various other three-letter agencies have you on a list. But I'm here to tell you right now, the list is largely useless because no matter who you are in this country, what color you are, what political identity you maintain, no matter where you live, we're all on the list. Hundreds of millions of people on that list, which means it's almost useless. It's almost useless to those that hold it. The identity politics are falling apart. The common sense crowd has grown exponentially in the last 3 years, as all the predictions of the so-called fringe intellectuals, I'm talking to you, longtime Social Reject Club members out there, and all you noobs too. The identity politics are falling apart, and the common sense region is getting wider and wider and wider as people walk away from the mass media cartel and start coming to shows like this one to hang out, try to find a little bit of sanity, try to shine a little bit of light on the cockroaches that are scurrying around and gathering in the corners, in the dark corners, and trying to shape and shift our culture, our country, the way that we communicate with each other, the way that we educate children, the way that we take care of ourselves, the way that we feed ourselves, the way that we power our cars, our homes. They want to reset all that They want to reset. Well, the boiler room is not down with it. Welcome to the boiler room, everybody. Let's open up that green room door and say hello to the man behind the daily ruckus, Ruckus Among Us. What's going on, Ruckus? Welcome to the show. How you doing tonight?
Howdy, howdy, howdy. I'm fine, I suppose. Fair to middling, as they might say back in the day. Uh, Hello, everybody. I'm on camera. I forget. This is actually full HD 1080 tonight. So there I am in all my full 1080 HP glory. No makeup, as you can tell, folks. So I know there's been quite a bit of an argument going on social media for years as to whether or not Ruckus wears any. Nope, you can see I clearly don't. So, but thanks for having me, guys. Can't wait to do this. Where's Infidel Pharaoh? Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
Hear me, Infidel. Where's your helicopter landing, bud? But in the meantime, I'm sure the three of us can do something cool as we usually do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Chopper, if you're out there, please dispatch the Road Warrior vehicle over to Infidel Pharaoh's location, find his 20, and get him on the line here tonight for this boiler room. In the meantime, let me introduce the one and only, the very lovely, the curator of all things Whiskey Tango Foxtrot on the interwebs. Lovely Spore, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, we're very, very happy to have you tonight. And I'm sure you've got something interesting for us to kick the show off. What kind of icebreaker do you got tonight, Spore?
Oh wow, there was like so many options this week, and thank you everybody that has put your suggestions into our icebreaker channel. Because this clown world is it's through the roof. I had a really hard time picking one, but I had to go with one that actually Infidel Pharaoh chose today. I'm just gonna read the beginning of it, and I want to hear y'all's impression, like what this means to you, because I'm kind of confused by it. So this is out of Vice, and it's the title is Ukrainians are responding to the threat of nukes by organizing an orgy. After his controversial suggestions for ending the war, the organizers said, quote, as of today, Elon Musk is persona non grata in Czechoslovakia.
Good job.
Sorry. I don't know how to do that one. Okay, so as countries as countries across Europe review their radiation pill supplies under the looming threat of nuclear attack by Vladimir Putin, Ukrainians have decided to respond with humor and plan an orgy on the hill outside of Kiev. More than 15,000 people have subscribed to, quote, orgy on Czechoslovakia official, which was set up on the 26th of September. And the intention is to head there in the event of nuclear attack as opposed to finding the nearest bunker. The opening post told members to decorate their hands with stripes to designate what their interests were ahead of visiting the hill. 3 stripes symbolizes anal sex and 4 means oral sex. They then posted, quote, they say that all the apartments with a view in Czechoslovakia have for some reason disappeared from real estate sites.
Okay.
What does this mean? I'm so confused by this. Okay, so somebody, Radio Free Europe interviewed a local woman about the group who said, quote, it's the opposite of despair. Even in the worst case scenario, people will look for something good. That's mega optimism for Ukrainians. A man said, quote, it's an attempt to show that the more they try to scare us, the more we will transform it into something else.
Okay. Well, that's one way to respond to all of the nuclear propaganda that we've been getting lately. I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Ruckus, what am I supposed to do with this one? Are all of the rich people of Ukraine buying up all the real estate there at the the location of the mega orgy for the nuclear apocalypse? I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Don't lie, man. Yeah, maybe not 10-foot pole, but wouldn't we all love to touch Yeah. Anyways, have a longer pole. Here's the thing about the real estate. Is that the part you're confused about, Spore? I'm presuming, or just everything?
Yeah, the real estate part I'm confused about for sure. I'm not understanding. I guess the idea is just like, oh, go have a fun, sexy orgy because we're going to ignore the fact that we're going to be obliterated.
Mhm.
Is that the
Yeah.
intention there? Yeah.
If you're gonna die anyways, you might as well go out doing 3 stripes or 4 stripes on your hand, I guess. That's wild, man. This is just like I would think we don't we I guess we certainly don't live in a world where they would say, "Hey, in case of a, impending nuclear strike, seek your closest church or get down on your knees and pray. Pull out the Bible." Any of these kind of things. Instead, they say, "Let's just go be a bunch of sexual degenerates as we die." Go poof, as I referred
Mhm.
to death by a nuclear explosion on Joseph Arthur's show last night on TNT. Um, so if you're gonna go poof, you might as well do it with your O face on, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's either or oh, your choice, people. So
I guess maybe there's something arousing about impending death. I don't know. Sounds I don't know. Doesn't sound like the sexiest situation to me, but I guess it's a thing. I do
oh,
recall one of
about the real estate thing, by the way, my theory about that is that as soon as people heard about this, the even more degenerate than these degenerates want to take advantage of this and spy on them with telescopic cameras and record the whole thing because they probably don't believe that it's the end of the, just in case, what if it's like it's a oops false alarm like we saw in Hawaii? Somebody could get some really good footage, and I don't know what they would do with that. Probably just put it on Pornhub or something. But
right. Oh, okay. There you go. There could be some sort of a marketing trick here to for someone to make some Pornhub content and make money off of it. I don't know. You're right. We have seen fake or erroneous. I'll say erroneous instead of fake. We have seen erroneous emergency reports of tactical nuclear missiles flying around in Hawaii, I believe. What was that? Like 2018, 20 something like that? Something like that.
sounds right.
Yeah. Well, turns out they were wrong about that one. That was a big oopsie. Oops, sorry, just testing the system there. Didn't mean to have everyone duck and cover and kiss their ass goodbye. But yeah, well, all right, Ukraine. I honestly don't know what to say. It reminds me of a scene from one of the Matrix movies. Except in the Matrix movie, I think they had their giant rave orgy, pseudo orgy thing like before they went and fought for their lives against the machines, not just to like say, well, at least I'll be, getting some when I get brutally killed. So I don't know. I guess
The
Hollywood.
orgy scene in The Matrix was a celebration of life. That was different. You're right.
That's right. We can't compare these. This is some sort of death cult orgy right here, obviously. All right. Well, very interesting. Very interesting. Infidel Pharaoh dropped us that one. So shout out to Infidel and everybody that has been dropping rather insane icebreaker suggestions in our Discord. If you're not a member of our Discord, you're going to want to become one. Just go to alternatecurrentradio.com, hit that hamburger menu. You'll find the invite in there. And you get a lot of benefits of being in there, like you get notifications when we set up new live streams and all that good stuff. So you might want to do that if you're not already. And there's people in there right now enjoying the open chat room for this show. So shout out to everybody that's in the live show chat room. Great to see you all. What's up, Creative Accidents? Good to see you in there. All right. Let's see here. So okay, any other thoughts on this one before I move along, you guys?
Yeah, I have a thought on it. I feel like I can't even imagine being like a citizen of the Ukraine at this point, and I mean, I only have like my outsider perspective, like as a U.S. citizen, and what I hear on the news, and get to hear from like TNT and ACR and independent media. But I mean, it sounds like for a normal citizen there, it's got to be actually really, really scary right now, obviously. And I could think of 100 different ways for people to, escape their own up reality right now because they don't have a choice about what's happening within their government and this war between them and Russia. So I don't know. I'm not really that surprised that they would come up with something as like far-fetched as or ridiculous as like, oh, okay, let's just all get together and have sex. I mean, I would imagine there's all sorts of different ways of escaping their current reality, but it's got to be pretty scary there for them. So I feel for those people.
Yeah, well, it's also like it's well said, Sport. Thank you. And it's also like sort of a way of, and this is something that's been bothering me lately. Feel like a lot of people don't really grasp the concept of mutually assured destruction or like tactical nukes and stuff. I mean, we even have colleagues and friends that don't think nuclear weapons exist at all, and that what happened in Japan was something completely different, more conventional than that. But I don't know about all that. I don't really. I'm agnostic on that particular front. But um, if everything is the way that we think it is, it's not funny to or lighthearted or anything to be normalized. This idea of threatening the global population with nuclear warfare over the ground that is Ukraine. There's nothing funny about that to Russian citizens, to Ukrainian citizens, to American citizens, to the rest of the citizens of the European Union. It's unless they are ignorant. All right. I pronounced it that way on purpose. One of my guests on TNT did that, and I'm picking it up. I'm running with it because a lot of times when you say ignorant, it makes people think you're trying to levy some sort of pejorative at them, but it's really a lack of knowledge. One of my guests today said he had a chemistry student who hadn't even ever heard of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and I found that to be a little frightening. A grown up, an adult student studying an advanced science like chemistry who has no idea about what happened in World War II. So that lack of that ignorance, all right? So we say ignorance because our lexicon has been completely fucked. So, maybe it can be less of a pejorative if the word ignorance isn't actually in one's vocabulary and they don't understand that it actually just means you do not know this. This is something that you do not know. You're ignorant of this fact. But I think the normalizing of this kind of stuff, like and Vice here, this is what Vice is doing with this article. They're normalizing the downplaying of the magnitude of what they're trying to scare everybody with right now, and that's not cool. The media outlets, the mass media right now, if they wanted to not have a war, they should be doing a lot of exposés and history pieces and discussions about the actual damage that has happened in these kind of conflicts and what could happen in a modern one. I think Tucker Carlson is the only person I've seen that has done a bit like that in the mass media. So that's my main problem with this, you guys, because on the one hand, it's kind of, just sort of fun, clickbaity article. But on the other hand, it's contributing to the delinquency and the ignorance of a larger global population.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it was interesting because, I've been listening to so much news lately because of your new role at TNT Radio Live. This is the most, it's really dark. It's really dark to think about the fact that we are on the brink of a nuclear war and nobody wants to think about that. And I have a really great girlfriend of mine that I've known for like over 7 years, and she's always protected herself in a little like information bubble. She's like, Jill, I don't want to know. I don't want to know about certain things. And I'm like, well, did you see the Nord Stream pipeline and blah, blah, blah? And she's like, I'm not sure if I want to know, but just give it to me in a nutshell. And I kind of gave it to her in a nutshell. And I was like, but here's the good news. Orgy forming. They're putting together a fucking sex party over in Ukraine. I'm sorry. It's
you may be forced to endure nuclear annihilation, but guess what? A bunch of people in Ukraine got invited to a sex party. You're not
Yeah.
invited. We didn't get invited. None of us here in the States got invited. So I
It's
don't
just
know.
like the most unimaginable, like distraction, in the fact that, I mean, there was something like, I think there was in the article, it said something like over 530 people were confirmed to arrive there, like whenever it happened. It's just like, oh, people are so desperate for something other than our reality. And I'm not saying that, we're like headed for nuclear war, but there's a lot of scary signals out there right now. And I think that people just want to escape.
Yeah. I'm kind of I don't know if I should say this. I'm a little bit unfazed by all this nuclear garbage. I feel like if they were gonna do mutually assured destruction or any sort of smaller, like, you know, that level of strike that was going to lead to a larger global conflict or something like that, they wouldn't have gone to such great efforts to mess up our gene pool and get everybody involved in this long term, whatever the long term effects of the jabs are. It's like, why would you work so hard to get all those people jabbed up and then just blow them all up? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. If we're just gonna blow everybody up, like, what's the point of all this, saving grandma and all this other stuff that we've gone through in the last couple years? What's the point? I guess the point could be, if that was the case, a giant distraction, a giant cover story. It's not something to keep us busy while they worked this out, but it just seems a little unnecessary, a lot of logistics going into that. I don't know. I suppose the other thing could be the financial sweep up, sort of the consolidation of power. I don't know. What do you think, Ruckus?
Yeah, no, it was, it's just a fundraiser is what it was. Ha! See, we're all still fucked. Yeah, yeah, no, see, what if that was it? What if they were like, "All right, well, we're just gonna blow up all these sheeple, so what do we do?" "Well, Billy," says Klaus, "we got all these, pharmaceuticals laying around." Anthony's like, "Yeah, and all my buddies, they got all these face masks sitting around. What do we do?" "I know. Let's cook up this pandemic thing, and we can push out all these extra face masks, make some money, and then we'll take all of these extra, like, pharmaceuticals and experimental juice that we got sitting around in the vats, throw them in a bunch of syringes, call them a vaccine, and give them to people. Yeah, and we'll make a killing." "Yeah, there you go. Why do we need all this money?" "Oh, because we need a big death machine that's gonna use a magnet to pull an asteroid to crash it into Earth and just blow everybody to smithereens." I don't know. So who knows? Yeah, maybe it's just some giant fundraising scheme, fire sale, as it were.
Yeah. 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 Well, I suppose. I mean, anything is possible at this point in the clown world. But yeah, very, very strange times. All this nuclear stuff. It's amazing. I've seen more public smattering of it. I think it was on a bus this time. One of those, it was the same 3 bullet points that we talked about before when they issued that PSA video out of New York. It was like, go inside, listen to official sources, something like that. Same thing on this bus recently. So why are they not dropping this? I don't know. Uh,
I heard you mention something about this concept of a wartime economy, and I've heard some other experts in financial aspects speak upon the same thing. And one guy in particular I was watching on YouTube the other day, I forget who it was speaking upon how he firmly believes, he laid out the case that we're moving from a service-based economy into a wartime economy. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. But I'm just curious exactly what that looks like. But I do know that the threat of nuclear war is certainly extremely useful to these people, whoever these people are, air quotes, the proverbial they and all that. Um, I don't know, man. But I'm with you. I don't think that they would necessarily like nuke and just blow some shit up like we were fearful of the way we were raised in the 80s with all of these nuclear explosions in the movies or whatever. I lean towards more of like the sumo theory about this stuff. Shout out to Sumo from the Mystical American Patriot Society, one of the great podcasts over here at Alternate Current Radio. And he believes that nuclear explosions and these chain reaction and bombs and all this stuff are not atomic bombs are not exactly what we've been led to believe. That there may be something there, and that there, certainly there's a boom and an explosion and devastation, but it's not exactly what we think it is or what we've been led to believe. So I think, again, it's just one of these many useful tools of quote unquote the science that they use to control us. And this one's just a nice, good old fashioned one. I mean, this one gets us a lot of the people. I'm just gonna say it, dude. This might sound controversial or whatnot, but a lot of those dyed-in-the-wool Republican conservatives who are the ones who are like resistant to the mandates and the masks and the vaccines, and they're like, I ain't no pussy. I ain't afraid of no scare, little invisible virus, but they're still freaking scared as shit over the threat of a nuclear explosion, aren't they? Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and it's really easy for those people to grasp tighter the concept of American exceptionalism. I'm discovering that a lot lately with a lot of people, and I don't want to beat up on them. They're allowed to have their opinions, and I'm interested in their opinions, but I just don't understand how they hold on to that. I mean, I understand holding on to the concept and being proud to be an American and want America to be what it's supposed to be or reach its potential instead of allow it to erode or disappear or be usurped. But at the same time, it's like we we cannot claim exceptionalism in our geopolitical actions that have led to this. You know what I mean? Like, it was America that got Bojo to go over to Ukraine and stop peace talks. What's up with that? You know what I mean? It's just like they've set this up. Our government has set this up at every turn, and they've denied every opportunity to de-escalate it. So just this idea that, oh, Putin's on the run and America's going to kick ass and Ukraine's going to kick ass. I'm sorry. I think Russia has like 3 times the population of Ukraine. It's just a bad look. It's a bad look to try to tell everybody that that's, everything's great. Everything America's doing is above board there. You know what I mean? And that goes back a long, long ways. This goes back to, goes back to 2014, essentially, at least the current phase of what's going on there, but it does go a lot further back than that also. But hey, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't see why destroying all the infrastructure would be something that's actually being looked at either. If Russia wanted to level parts of Ukraine and destroy the infrastructure, where is all that? Why has that not happened? Why has everything been so calculated? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to just go nuclear all of a sudden after such a setting up the battle space, because from my understanding, at least, my analysis, watching stuff on the ground from, people on the ground, Telegram channels and whatnot, it seems like the battle space is being set up, and they're being careful about how they set up that battle space. So I don't know, man. I just don't see them launching nukes at anybody. But as you've pointed out a number of times, Ruckus, and a number of our colleagues, that we're in a dangerous situation here now because there could be somebody could do something and blame it on someone else, like Nord Stream 2 or something like that.
Plus, okay, I'm going to be jumping back and forth from a number of different viewpoints on this, but I'm going to bring this one up. There is the very real possibility that they would just go, madman style and just do it, man, and just have some sort of major disaster extinction level event just because they had no choice and they felt they were backed into a corner. I brought up this theory last night on Joseph Arthur's show because I found an excellent article written by a gentleman by the name of Brandon Smith. He's a blogger that I like. I've actually featured him on one of my episodes of the Daily Ruckus for open mic night one time. So on a recent article, he was laying down the case for exactly that, saying that, hey, listen, people are waking up to the elites. Their anti-globalism has gone mainstream. I think that was in his headline, the title of his blog. And yeah, historically shows that these criminals and all criminals throughout history, when you've got them on the run and you got them backed into a corner, they fight, and they fight dirty. I mean, because the absolute last thing these mother effers want to do is give up all of this power that they were given during the pandemic. Look what happened with Gavin Newsom, dude. One of the biggest ghouls out there, right? You've had a lot of people on your show on TNT recently, Asher, talking about the fact because I had no idea, but I was like, wow, this is crazy. That dude, Gavin Newsom, spent more money fighting, to keep himself in power than he did to get himself in power. Meaning that all the money that he collected in donations and for campaigning to become the governor does not equal the amount of money that he spent campaigning and from donations and everything to help fight the recall. So that's how badly they don't want to lose power whatsoever. Look, arguably, some might say, that the recent election was rigged. Who would say that are clearly just, MAGA far right extremist terrorists, obviously. So, I don't condone such a thing. But, there are some out there that suspect that, just maybe that instead of facing the music and doing things the right way, that, somebody at the top, some big guy, as it were, decided to cheat like a crying, screaming, kicking a little baby because they thought that's the only way they can win. And they just might be right, especially the second time around, huh? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hairy.
Yeah, man, definitely. And it's interesting because there are people that have all this information. You know what I mean? It's not just claims. I had Leah Hoops on the show last week, and I mean, they've got court cases, they've got audio and video, they've got interviews, they've got all kinds of documentation. Yet you're supposed to think that I don't know, it's not real. They made it up. But no. And this was collected in Pennsylvania. And I think it was the DA in Pennsylvania said, there's no report there. There's nothing to it. There's nothing there. But the DA never talked to her or her colleagues. They collected all this information. They've made claims. They've made their claims public. They've written a book about it. They've filed cases. And the media is still telling people that they're in danger if they discuss these things. It's just publicly available information. You know what I mean? So I take what Brandon Smith said to heart because it really, and I mentioned that in the intro, kind of leading back to the intro to the show here, Ruckus. And, they really want people to think that they can't talk about things that are publicly available information. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like, we have every right as the citizens of this country and this planet to discuss what public figures and elected officials are doing. Straight up.
We should have some sort of law that protects us in that department. What do you think?
Maybe we should come up with a First Amendment and ratify. Oh wait, no, that's already there.
Yeah, clearly this is a huge violation here. We're just seeing so many of these, one right after the other. When is it going to stop, people? When are the sheeple going to wake up and be like, enough is enough? Because clearly we've had enough. All of us here on this call, all of the people, the listeners, the supporters of all of this, this network and others like us, we get it. But when are the other idiots going to get it? Because I mean, I'm at a loss for what to do anymore, Asher. I kind of felt this way again last night. I keep bringing it up, but you guys should check out, I guess, last night's show because I keep referring back to it. But must have been a good one, I suppose, in retrospect. But we try, not we, but some people who were on to something. They're like, hey, wait a minute. This election is not quite right. Something's going down. This is fishy. Let's go at least protest. Let's go peacefully protest. And they showed up and they used the tools that were given to them by our country that has worked for 200 something years now, right? And look what happened. Look what they turned that into. They let, oh my gosh, I can't. We all know the Jan 6 thing, right? So now these people, like, that was what we were supposed to do. We again, not we, but they did the right thing. What they were supposed to do to express their grievances, and it went. Not only did it go nowhere, it went in exactly the opposite direction. And we just went like overnight from that incident into like a giant communist, totalitarian, dictatorial, tyrannical, fill in whatever ism you want here. But we're no longer the United States of America with all of the freedoms, all of our rights that were protected by the Constitution. It's as if somebody literally just ripped it up into shreds and set it on fire. And I don't understand how that happened and why or what we can do about it. I mean, we have all this smoking gun evidence on a freaking laptop, recorded voice calls, documented evidence of corruption at the absolute highest level in this land. And who do we call? Excuse me, I'd like that you dial 911 and say, I'd like to report a crime. And his name is Joseph Biden. I mean, what are they going to do? Go arrest him? How does that work? I'm at a complete loss here, guys. Help me. Maybe Infidel Pharaoh, who I think finally successfully made his helicopter landing, can offer some hope for me here, because I'm feeling pretty hopeless.
Yeah, Chopper just pulled up and dropped Infidel Pharaoh off from the Road Warrior vehicle, the Boiler Room Apocalypse vehicle. Infidel Pharaoh, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Sorry, I was just smoking some crack with some horse. Oh no, that was Hunter Biden. Sorry.
Oh, right. Well,
Yeah.
apparently that's not a crime
Hey.
anymore.
Well, it's crime if we did it, but it's not if they did it. So
I guess it's more
What's
who
up,
does
guys?
it. How's it going, man?
it's going all right, man. Sorry for being late.
That's all right. That's all right. Hey, so we're talking about all this nuclear bandying around. Spore opened the show with your icebreaker you provided. Thank you for that, by the way. We think it's weird, first of all, and we think it's creepy. And we think, at least I think, and I think a lot of people agree, that the ultimate impression it leaves is one that the media is just sort of trying to downplay the actual insane violence that could come in a weapon of mass destruction exchange. John Hurley says, "Hey, don't doubt their capabilities." I don't, my friend. I don't. I'm just trying to have a little bit of nuance there, and like Ruckus did, he gave a better shout out to Sumo on that one than I did. But yes, I do not doubt it, and it is scary, Spore. And what to do about it? Oh, there's John again. He's got to go in. Free press, free Julian Assange. That's the only way. Well, that's how we're behaving over here at ACR and TNT Radio .live, where you can find both Ruckus and Patrick Henningsen and myself and a lot of our other friends oftentimes. We're trying to work towards that. And shout out to our UK listeners out there today that formed the human chain where Julian Assange is. There was a big protest event there. I'm guessing it was hardly shown in our mainstream media here, but big one there. And his wife was actually on, what was it? She was on, I forget, it might have been Piers Morgan's show, doing verbal warfare with John Bolton, the walrus, Cuckoo John Bolton. And she basically got in that he should be in the Hague. He should be looked at by the ICC and in the Hague because of his war crimes, to her estimation, and Julian's probably as well. So big shout out to all those people that are out there supporting a free press. If Assange goes down, regardless of what we think of him, it means a lot for for the press, for 1A, for freedom of speech here in the United States. And it would be a global thing, a global problem, because then it will set the precedent for the major superpowers exchanging journalists like they've exchanged. They just went and what was that? Oliver Yannick just got picked up recently in Philippines and sent back to Germany, even though they don't have an extradition. So this is getting to be kind of scary when it comes to First Amendment stuff. But anyways, Infidel, thank you, and welcome back to the show. And what do you think about mutually assured destruction? Is that a possibility? Are we being psyoped with more fear porn here so that everybody's just sort of like, oh, well, screw it. I guess I'll go to the orgy and get nuked. What do you make of that article, man?
Well, number one, I want to compliment Spore background. I think that was a great choice for post-apocalyptic world. I think
Yeah.
that's right. That's why you chose that, right?
Yeah, ready to head to the orgy, you
There you
know?
go. There you go. Good, 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 good.
How many
It- it-
lines
it-
are on your hand?
No, it's really disturbing. I was just actually, I've been absorbing Twitter the last few days, and I sent you guys a video, just as a promotion of like a VR, like a nuclear. It was simulating a nuclear impact.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
It's
and
crazy.
I'm seeing like people posting pictures of signs in New York subways of how to deal with radiation poisoning. Um, our
Yep.
National Institute of Health going and buying like millions of like radiation poisoning tablets.
Yeah, as
So
well as
it's
Ukraine. Yeah.
yep, and so was
Mhm.
the Ukraine's and Sweden and Poland like yesterday asking US to house like nuclear weapon on their land. There is definitely, you can see the build up, right? And you see the mainstream media build up, and I'm just wondering what they are trying to do. I just
Yep.
Are they trying to push us to use of a like Russia to use a tactical nuclear weapon so that they can just have an excuse to go in and do something? I just here is the issue. I don't think we have any people with any um, brains in power right now, and I have zero trust in any of their judgment. So if I can just sit here and rationalize what they can be thinking about, that would actually make me feel comfortable. But my problem is I have no idea what these people. I cannot predict what they are thinking about
Yeah.
and how they can behave because they just just bunch of moron ideologues. Sadly, that's what we have right now in power. I don't know if you've been watching the exchange between Elon Musk and freaking Lindsey Graham on Twitter.
Yes, I covered
You
that
guys
on
been
my
watching
show
that?
today. Yeah, I
Yeah,
covered that at TNT. That
yeah,
stuff's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
crazy.
I mean, here you go. Like I actually I responded on one of his on Lindsey Graham tweets. I'm like, I still remember your picture with John McCain with neo Nazis in Ukraine, like back in 2014, right? With all the
Yep.
tiki torches.
That was
I
the
remember
first
those
thing I
days.
said too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Darren, my news producer brought it up on the show today. He does this news break on the show, and that was the first thing I thought. I said, "Well, of course, Lindsey Graham's gonna fight you on that. He's been working towards this since 2014. You know, going to hang out with Azovs and stuff."
Yeah. They created the Azov. They are the one who put them in power.
Well, yeah.
Um
They told him
so
they'd back him. They said, "Hey, we'll back you no matter what. We got your back." And
absolutely, man.
And here we are. And I agree with you, dude. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, at least in World War II, it was like not that all things were above board and, bankers and powerful assholes didn't start that war unnecessarily
Hmm.
using similar tactics. But at least when that shit happened, it was like near the end of this giant thing. We're talking about starting a giant thing with the end, basically, if these psychopaths want to do this. And over what? Over what? Like, America's really willing to just like lose itself in a shiny firebomb of ash, and Ukraine going to lose itself in a shiny firebomb of orgies, and the Russians are riding bears shirtless, and they're all going to turn to ash. And what the hell does that do for everybody? Why is that worthwhile? Especially considering most people in this country didn't even know where the hell Ukraine is. Most still don't even know where it is.
I guess maybe they watched a lot of sci-fi movies, and everybody's just brainwashed with that post-apocalyptic nuclear war, and this is how we're gonna end.
Hmm.
Maybe they're just trying to, to just make it happen. I don't know, man.
Well, if we are no longer the goose that lays the golden egg, and they've got their bunkers, we've seen stuff about elitist bunkers. Ruckus and Joe Svartha were talking about that the other night. The high profile, bomb shelters and all this stuff. Maybe, I don't know, maybe, man. They've certainly consolidated all the wealth and the land and the food and the supply chain and the gold supply, if we even had such a thing at Fort Knox anymore. Like, this stuff is all pretty much in the clutches of evil ghouls. So who knows, man? Maybe they just, scorched earth policy. I guess it's possible. They
I don't
sure are
know.
porning us out with a lot of it.
They are, and another aspect. I don't know if you guys have been watching this or not. There is a lot of talks right now about the digital dollar, right, and the
Yep.
digital currency.
Yep.
And I mean, tie that with like trying to roll this was like some kind of nuclear war or some kind of crazy event. It's just a perfect segue to roll some crazy something like this. It's just you need a crazy event to be able to roll something like that.
Yeah. And
All the banks in America were targeted by airstrikes today.
Yeah.
or the communication pipelines, like Sumo was saying on the last Mystical American Patriot Society. Like, what if our communication pipelines went down underwater? Like, someone else's pipeline just went down. What if the banking pipelines went down? Whatever those are, they're underwater, right? It's not all coming from the sky. So, there's all kinds of infrastructure that's at risk now. And in 30 days, I believe, they're gonna they might reopen they're gonna remove a cordon that will allow them to actually investigate what happened on the Nord Stream 2. So they can't do anything right now, but they do have I found out also today that there's a second string that is of that pipeline that's fully built and ready to turn back on. And Russia's actually offering to turn the gas back on, essentially, through the part of the pipeline that still works. Why would they do that if they're going to be nuking Europe? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, and just that whole, I don't know if you guys spoke about this last week or not, but yeah, that whole like media trying to convince us like that Russia blew up that Nord Stream 2 is just ridiculous.
Dude, that's hilarious to me. And I can't understand it. I had let me see if I can bring this up. I want to have this guy's name in front of me here. I had I think his name is William Doyle. Yeah, I had William Doyle on my show this Wednesday, and he's cool. He was a cool dude. New York Times best-selling author, TV producer. Like, he knows his stuff. He's got a really good grasp on history, but he gave me his opinion, and he told me that that he thought Russia did it, and I was like, well, I didn't have to look very far to find an interview with a colonel, like an active colonel, who was saying there's no way. You know what I mean? So even within our own system, we're just seeing like all different stories that don't make sense. And then check this out, man. The media, let's see if I have this clip here. I think I have this clip. The mass media is like shutting people down for even saying anything. This is just an audio clip, folks. So if you're watching the stream, I apologize. We're just me staring at our faces for a second here, but let me play this. This was sent to me by one of our listeners, Matt.
Destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline, which I would bet was a U.S. action, perhaps U.S. and Poland. This is
Jeff, we got to stop there. That's quite a statement as well. Why do you feel that was a U.S. action? What evidence do you have of that?
Well, first of all, there's direct radar evidence that U.S. Helicopters, military helicopters that are normally based in Gdansk, were circling over this area. We also had the threats from the United States earlier in this year that one way or another, we are going to end Nord Stream. We also have a remarkable statement by Secretary Blinken last Friday in a press conference. He says, this is also a tremendous opportunity. It's a strange way to talk if you're worried about the piracy on international infrastructure of vital significance. So I know this runs counter to our narrative. You're not allowed to say these things in the West, but the fact of the matter is, all over the world, when I talk to people, they think the U.S. did it. And just to tell you, and by the way, even reporters on our papers that are involved tell me privately, yeah, well, of course, but it doesn't show up in our media.
Professor, I don't want to get into tit for tat about what did or didn't.
And boom, that's where it gets cut off. That was on Bloomberg. So that was Professor Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University. He's an economics professor, and he went on Bloomberg and said that and made those points, and they shut him down. They cut him off. And it's like they're cutting him off for stuff that's already available in the mainstream media. We've already seen these clips that he's talking about if we're paying attention. So I don't know, man. It's pretty amazing to see the dissonance, you know, because you've got the like old guard American exceptionalism people who are like, you know, Russia's on the run. We got to be prepared to, you know, deal with the inbound nuclear strike because they're on the run. But I think what yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so, man. So it's interesting to see that dissonance there between the old guard, because you've got people like that, you know, an intellectual like that, who will have the balls to say something like that on Bloomberg. And then you've got all these other people that are like, oh, Russia blew up their own pipeline and they're going to nuke us and all this stuff. And it's just, it doesn't fit. It doesn't square.
Yeah, it absolutely does not. And you know, it's not Russia that was doing like military exercises like 2 months before blowing up the pipeline and you know, the bell tops, like military exercise in the same dang location, right?
Yeah.
It's
and
not Russia that came out like in February and said, hey, we're gonna shut down the Nord Stream one way or the other.
Yeah.
If we invaded Ukraine. So.
Right. Or Blinken saying we have an opportunity now, or you know, the oil companies just frothing at the mouth to have that leverage over Europe, you know, be the only ones that can send them LNG because that's all they're going to be able to run on at our high prices. You know what I mean? There's so many motives for a Western interest to have done that. I'll use those words. Than Russia. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and then a day after they go and open like a new line that opens, right? Was much less capacity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what they are trying to do. Here is the thing: they started this crazy economical war, right? Where did we end up? We end up in a recession. We end up like in Europe right now. Pretty soon, are going to be dying from cold weather, right? Because they're not going to find any energy to heat up their homes. European countries putting some crazy restrictions and people in prison if they have like their AC like in winter above 65 degrees, if they have their heaters above 65 degrees.
Yep.
Germany is being deindustrialized right now, which, by the way, is a U.S. plan. Germany has always been one of the biggest threats to U.S. So what's happening to Germany right now, and even German allowing that to happen to their country, it's complete betrayal from their side, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But Germany is being completely deindustrialized right now. Their industries are dying, and they're turning into a consumer market at that point of time and a commodity market. You know, and the rest of Europe is just going and pushing into the crazy green agenda while they are killing their own economy. Look at UK. Look at the value of the British sterling right now. It's 1 point. Last time I looked at it was yesterday. It was like $1.15, and it just keeps going down. So I don't know when this madness are going to stop. Like, how far along are they willing, those crazy people in power right now in Europe and the collective West are willing to go? And the bigger question is, how long are people allowing those crazy people to go? and how much are we willing to let them just continue destroying the West, because that's really where it's heading. um and I can tell you, just talking to people from all over the world right now, um after Putin's speech like last Friday, he captured a lot of non-Western countries, and captured a lot of people outside of the West, especially with the message that, you know what, we form allies, we don't form slaves. Like, US do not want to form allies. US method is like, we want to be your superior masters and you're just going to obey us. That's what it is, right? It's a full domination. It is not a mutual beneficial relationship where, I benefit, you benefit, and I respect your boundaries and you respect my boundaries. This is not the relationship that the US has been following, especially really recently. It's about just full complete domination. And a lot of Eastern societies are just not buying into this, especially with this current mad, like crazy liberal ideology that is just being pushed on top of all this. Like, like right now, I'm talking to people in Egypt, for example, and all what they think about US right now, that you're just, all of us are just like basically crazy liberals, that all of us are in that like complete open society, sexual, non-moral, um, progressive views, right? Because I don't even call those liberal, because I am a classical liberal person. I consider myself still a classical liberal, right? But those like progressive views, and sadly, this is the pictures that Hollywood and the picture that those mega corporation are putting around the world, is basically causing everybody to see US now and those Western societies to be the center of this degenerative progressive ideologies, which is not true, because there is a lot of people here in the US are getting sick of this crap. Right? But this is not the agenda that they are pushing, and Putin captured a lot of those people in his speech. you know um so I don't know, when are we going to wake up? When are we going to take this country back? When are we going to say enough is enough? And to hell with this global destruction agenda that they want to do. And it's time to just stand up and just take our country and our society back.
Yeah, man. It occurs to me, we've seen so many things collapsing over the last 2.5 years, longer, actually, a lot of a slow collapse, but like a really fast collapse over the last couple of years of the financial system, the educational system, the medical system, our military. Our military is not maintaining fighting force right now because people are getting kicked out for not taking the experimental shots. And people that have been kicked out are telling the youth not to go join because they don't feel like it is our military anymore. And that's pretty scary. Our government is calling veterans terrorists. I mean, good ones, good ones. Like go to I don't know if it's Mike Glover Actual or Fieldcraft Survival's channel, but Mike Glover did a video on there about how he's been designated a domestic terrorist. And it's like, that guy, he's anything but that. He is as American as you or me, Infidel, more so.
Mhm.
I mean, his contribution to the country and to the civilian population and people like him right now are head and shoulders above most. And the government wants to designate him a terrorist. So our military's in collapse. Our genome, our actual DNA might very well be in collapse. The family unit, the desire and respect and reverence for a traditional family unit collapsed. Our food supply collapsing. Our sovereignty collapsing. Race relations collapsing. Social media caging us all into this giant octagon of atomization and polarization and digital fighting. All these things collapsing. Ruckus, what do you think about that, man? Like, all that sure would be like if they really were going to pull a fast one on humanity and start some sort of large scale world war type of thing. Man, maybe we should take it seriously because that sure seems like a lot of things to collapse and consolidate before something like that.
Great reset, man.
Great reset.
Isn't that always symbolized, especially in the memes and in the GIFs? It's literally like somebody pushing a button, like a big red shiny button. What does that remind you of, Hesher?
Well, Ren and Stimpy for one. But yes, I know what you're getting at, man. Definitely. Yeah. Reset.
The red button, the one, the nuclear football, folks. So I don't know. It's really fascinating, but again, I don't believe that there's enough nukes on the world to reset the planet. Certainly, they can do some damage in certain places, but again, I would love to explore, or maybe we could get our hands on, or somebody out there can recommend a good expert in what necessarily a wartime economy might look like in this. Like, because what a wartime economy might have looked like 20, 30 years ago is completely different than what we're moving into now. I mean, we've got the Space Force thing going. We got all these satellites. We got drones. We have all this advanced technology. We have VR, robots, all of this crazy stuff. And so I don't know. I just how stupid are people? Would they be willing to do something where they're like, oh, okay, well, there's nuclear fallout over, like they could blow someplace up, and then they could control everybody with the shifting winds and the way that the weather patterns carried the nuclear cloud all over the planet or something, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
The climate change affecting the nuclear fallout, affecting the next,
Which
virus.
is obvious. It's the anti-vaxxers' fault. Putin would not have nuked that bakery in Boston if it weren't for the anti-vaxxers. So it's all your fault. Yeah, I don't know, man. But what do we do? How do we fight back against this? What's the solution? I mean, how we've tried to use the tools that were provided to us. We see them; they literally attacked the foundation of our rights and our tools. I mean, did you guys hear this thing with John Bolton where he just came right out and said it? And he says, like, yeah, we need to go in there and have regime change. We need to send in some. I'm like, are you? What that? I've never heard anybody just come right out and say it. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's insane. That's absolutely crazy. And I'm just like, well, maybe that's what we need, somebody on the other side of the world to do the same thing for us. Somebody to take pity on us poor enslaved Americans, and they're going to come rescue us. Maybe they're going to be the ones who arrest the maybe that's your cue moment, everybody. It's going to be maybe Putin's going to come busting down the doors through, like he's going to trample over Justin Trudeau and come up through the north border of Canada, riding his bear shirtless, and he's going to personally put the handcuffs on Joe Biden. What do you think?
There you go.
And then he's going to take the one of the existing copies of the original Constitution, and he's going to lay it before the feet of all the people and say, "Here, this belongs to you. It's yours. Have it back." Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Oh yeah, we can dream. We can pipe dream.
Nobody
Definitely.
fucks with the Bidens.
That's what he said. He got caught on a hot mic saying that. We'll see about that. I'm going to have a nice conversation about his son Hunter tomorrow on my show. Oh, and by the way, I've got Paul Manafort joining me on the show tomorrow, everybody. So join me for the live show. That'll be on tntradio.live at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Central time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a pretty cool episode, I think. So be sure and join us. And yeah. Bolton. Okay, so check this out also. With going back to the Nord Stream for a second here. I think this might be worth noting. They've been unable to inspect the damaged sections because of the restrictions imposed by the Danish and Swedish authorities. And that is Nord Stream 2 AG. That is the Switzerland-based operator. And they said it would examine the condition of the leaking pipes once a police investigation of the crime scene is completed and a cordon is lifted. And later, Nord Stream AG, operator of the older Nord Stream 1 pipeline, said it had been told by Danish authorities that receiving the necessary permits to carry out an inspection could take over 20 working days. So we're already like 2 weeks away from the event, and they're saying it's going to take another 20 days before an inspection can take place. And they're treating it like a crime scene. But my question is, if they're treating it like a crime scene, why is it cordoned off for almost a month? And what could, what kind of crime scene is like, oh, we'll just, we'll go look at it in a month. It's cordoned off. Nobody's going to go in there. What could go wrong? What could go wrong if it's under dubious circumstances? I mean, time for a cover up.
What if they found out? Wouldn't this be funny if they found out that it was actually just an accident?
Ah.
I don't know. I want to make a point real quick before I forget, because I think actually this is a pretty important one. And because it's come up kind of hidden in a couple of these discussions now for a little bit now. I think what's more important is what the rest of the world thinks happened. Like, sure, I'm sure we all suspect that somewhere, somehow, that the U.S. was involved in doing some underhanded things, but it doesn't matter if we were or we weren't. I think this is one of those cases where, like, it seems like the rest of the world seems to think that we had something to do with it. And that might be the bigger elephant in the room. That might be a bigger deal. Somebody needs to address that, probably. I mean, I don't know about you folks, but I don't know. Isn't this going to affect people's lives? The fact that they're not going to get like energy and be able to stay warm, and all of the various detrimental trickle down effects this could have. If we literally, not we, but the United States is literally somehow officially, implied as being involved or proven, and there's evidence, or I mean, that's probably not good. I mean, we're the bad guys, but then again, throughout history, I suppose recently we've been the bad guys for a while, unfortunately. Wah, wah.
Well, if it does come out that was the case, they'll find a way to justify it, and they'll find a way to rally people around it, probably, and that's pretty scary. That would be pandering to a pretty ignorant audience if people buy into that. But I don't know. I don't know if you were listening to my intro tonight, Infidel, or not, but it sounds like you and I are on a very similar wavelength with all this. Our attitude about this right now, it's I don't know, man. It's pretty. I don't know. I don't know where to go from here other than just keep talking about it and keep encouraging people to have discussions like this one and share discussions like this one, because God damn it, everybody. We aren't going out and doing any sort of investigative journalism here. We're just reading and listening to everything we can possibly find from all sources and trying to come up with a picture that represents something close to what's actually happening, as difficult as that is when you're dealing with remote locations like this. But there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle here, and we're looking at all of them, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't match up. It doesn't match up at all. I mean, even check this out. Check this out. Where's this one? U.S. and Russia make headway in nuclear talks. What? What is this? Russia and the U.S. have managed to achieve significant progress in talks over resuming nuclear inspections within the new START treaty. So, according to the Russian Foreign Ministry, as quoted by the outlet, Moscow and Washington are looking into reviving mutual inspection of nuclear arsenals, negotiating over relevant channels on how to return to the full implementation of this treaty in the element relating to verification mechanisms. And Russia and the U.S. are also discussing what organizational and technical problems need to be solved. These difficulties are said to include COVID-19 related issues that require a final settlement, whatever that means, and apparently is the West sanctions over Ukraine conflict that prevent Russian specialists from traveling to the U.S. So all the sanctions and COVID restrictions are a problem here, visa problems and whatnot. But I find this whole thing to be pretty strange to be finding this in the Russian media, actually talking about going back to looking at treaties, and this START treaty, which was signed in 2010, remains virtually the last arms control deal between the two nuclear powers since America's unilateral withdrawal in 2019 from the intermediate range nuclear forces, the INF treaty. Um, and the START treaty, the deal limits the number of nuclear warheads that the U.S. and Russia can possess to 1,550 each. It also says that each side must have no more than 700 deployed ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine launched ballistic missiles, and nuclear bombers. And the total number of strategic nuclear delivery vehicles must not exceed 800. The information is just so vast and confusing on this topic because they're telling us this is, a potential, we're going to have a nuclear war. And then they're also telling us in Russian media that we're working on restarting the treaty. But then you read the treaty details and it's like, well, we're just agreeing that each of us can have 1,550 nuclear warheads. Like what?
And it's
What
better
is
than having
this?
2,000.
Is this like the geopolitical version of Battleship? Like we all have the same amount of pegs, we have the same playing field. Oh, you nuked my battleship, like what? I just where are we at, you guys? I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's interesting that actually Trump and his government actually that the one that canceled that treaty.
Right? That was, I don't know. I mean, maybe some classic.
I was very surprised when he did that back then.
I did
was
too.
like,
It didn't
why
make
did he do
sense.
that? Yeah.
That was the one thing from the Obama legacy that I thought was all right. That was like the one thing Obama did where I was like, all right, that's cool. I'm not gonna take him to task on that one. And then Trump came along and just got rid of it. I didn't understand that. Maybe that is a
Well, I mean, it tell you that he was not the one in charge of this.
Yeah, probably not.
We know that this narrative was Russia as being set for a long time. So
yeah, and there's all this weird nuance and conspiracy there too. Uranium One, Iran, all this other stuff. So there's a lot going on there for sure. All right.
Didn't we just withdraw from the nuclear deal, and intermediate nuclear weapons treaty or some BS with Iran? Isn't Iran all pissed off about us backing off?
Yeah, there was a change there too. I remember what that was, but I don't have the article to hand. But yeah, definitely a lot of shifting going on.
Yeah, it's
well,
all.
I mean, there is a big access.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's definitely feeling like the '80s again with this whole Cold War nuke threat stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, I mean that there is already a new alliance that's forming right now, and you can see Iran was China and Russia and India and I don't know who else.
Yeah, they have there's a new pipeline too, that's going to go from Siberia directly to China. So, again, the Russian and Chinese economies, they don't appear to they seem to be getting better. Well,
yeah, here is a disturbing piece. I was reading an article like a few days ago about like basically the Chinese Communist Party has been opening police monitoring stations in US for Chinese, to basically monitor Chinese people, which is really interesting, given that there is a lot of real estate that's being bought by the Chinese government right now. I know we see a lot of hostility between appeared hostility between US government and China. But when you look at actual policies on the ground and what our politicians are doing, you'll see a lot of alignment with really the CCP.
Oh yeah.
And you will see the influence of that Chinese money here in the US. And because this is the model that they want at the end, right? Their dream with this digital currency is to be where China is right now, right? Like, China can prevent you from buying airline tickets or train tickets if you did something bad, right? So I hate to say this, but once you start questioning the loyalties of your government and the people in charge to this nation, it's really very unsettled feeling, because you just have no trust, and this is not people that working for the benefit of this nation.
Yeah. The confidence has gone down, down, down. There's no doubt about it, man. It's pretty freaky. It's pretty freaky to see it all. But I'll let me just read this one real quick here, Ruckus, and I'll hand it over to you. I know you got to go in a minute here. They say, be careful what you post. How Facebook and the U.S. government have united against Americans with wrong views. Check this out. All right, there it is. Social media giants spying on conservative users and snitching to the feds. It's been revealed by sources within the U.S. Department of Justice that direct messages sent through Facebook by American users, along with public postings, have been rigorously monitored and reported to the Federal Bureau of Investigation if they express anti-government, anti-authority views, or if they question the legitimacy of the November 2020 presidential election's outcome. Under the terms of a secret collaboration agreement with the FBI, a Facebook staffer has, over the past 19 months, been red flagging content they consider to be subversive and immediately transmitting it to the Bureau's Domestic Terrorism Operation Unit without the FBI having filed a single subpoena outside the established U.S. legal process, without probable cause, and in breach of the First Amendment. Just as shockingly, these intercepted communications were then provided as leads and tips to FBI field offices across the U.S., which in turn then secured subpoenas in order to officially obtain private conversations that they already possessed, and thus cover up the fact that the material had been obtained extra legally. Of course, Facebook complied with subpoenas and would send back all these photos and data within an hour. So they already had that content packaged up and awaiting legal confirmation before distribution. And it is uncertain quite how many users were flagged, but it's abundantly clear specific type of person was of interest: the red-blooded conservative right-wingers, many of whom supported the right to bear arms. No one connected to Antifa, BLM, or any other left-wing group was ever informed on. Blah, blah, blah. But here's the interesting thing. However, once these users' information reached FBI headquarters, it appears to have been selectively and misleadingly edited, the most egregious parts highlighted and taken out of context in order to pique the interest of field offices. Once the same data was sought and accessed by them via subpoena, the conversations didn't sound as bad, and none pointed to any plan or orchestration to carry out any kind of violence. No one spoke of injuring, let alone killing anyone. The entire operation appears to have been a gigantic waste of time, but given the Biden administration's rhetoric about the January 6th Capitol insurrection, quote unquote, it would hardly surprise if the FBI was under intense political pressure to make as many arrests as possible of quote unquote right-wing terrorists in order to make the sensational fantasies of the White House a reality. So, that's what I was talking about in the beginning of the show, everybody. They have a giant list, and their list means diddly squat. It means nothing. It is political pressure being put on the FBI. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I almost feel sorry for the FBI. If they're getting that kind of political pressure, they've got 30 employees or more coming out as whistleblowers now, saying they're not down with this. They don't like this. I got to let Ruckus get out of here, so I'm going to pass the mic to Ruckus, and we'll do saved rounds, at least for Ruckus right now. Ruckus, over to you, man. That's kind of what spurred my intro comments there, that article I just read from.
It's really interesting, and I like that last part you read there about how they might just be like fishing because they're like the boss is riding them on this one. The big guy says produce results, and it's like throwing out a speed trap or whatever, or just randomly pulling people over, hoping just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And clearly, the FBI didn't have to worry about infiltrating the Facebook pages and users who are, heavily involved with BLM or Antifa, because they've already infiltrated those groups. So they got them covered already. So, this is just fascinating. Just goes to show you, yeah. People, why are we so concerned about our data? Why are we so concerned about our privacy? Why should I give a flying FUCK about the fact that Twitter and Palantir harvests my data as a Twitter user, or that Facebook does the same thing on their platform and on Instagram, or that Google does that, well, everywhere online? It's the fact that one day somebody could be in charge, and hey, well, their views and their beliefs and their morals and their values and their agendas might not necessarily align with yours, so much so that your own personal set of values, beliefs, and morals and agendas are a direct threat to them. And now they can, make it a law that says all of those things in one lump bucket is illegal. And now you are guilty of a crime, provable in a court of law, because I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, let's just pull up your Facebook page. It says right here, September 10th, 2019, you wrote, "Fuck Trump." Well, Emperor Trump doesn't like that, so you're going to jail. I'm just using this as an example. Sorry to all the Trump fans out there, but anyways, can't always pick on one side over the other. They're both just as slimy as the rest, in my opinion. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, man. If you're going to let one side get away with doing this kind of dirty to the other side, well, it's just going to flip flop eventually. We got to stick up for our inherent, unalienable rights here in this country. All of us, whether we are on the same political side or not. But this whole political side thing is what's dragging everybody back to the center, dragging everybody out of the dialectic right now, dragging everybody away from the mass media cartel to discussions like this one and many out there like it. All right, Ruckus, give a quick shout out to where you're headed next so everybody knows, and we'll do it again real soon, my friend.
Sure, I'm going outside to smoke a cigarette. Oh, that's not what you meant. After that, though, I will be, of course, on TNT radio for Joseph Arthur and his Technicolor Dreamcast. You can catch that over at tntradio.live. I join him every night. That's Monday through Friday, every weeknight, for the second hour doing co-hosting duties. Sometimes I show up earlier and whatnot, and lots of fun stuff going on over there. So if you want to catch up with me and Joseph and what's happening over there, make sure you do that. In the meantime, you can always catch me here on the Boiler Room until I dust off that daily ruckus thing, which will be returning soon, actually. Knock on wood. I always say that, but it's been a long time since I said that, so I mean it this time. Some things are happening. Going to be some exciting changes, folks. So thank you for all your continued support. And thank you guys for having me on. It was awesome speaking with you, Infidel. Shout out to Spore. She's already gone. Thank you, Hesher, my brother from another mother. And to all the audience listeners out there, may God bless each and every one of you, and may God save this republic.
All right, there he goes. Ruckus. That's the Ruckus among us. Thanks, man. Great to have you tonight. All right, Infidel, over to you, man. Any comments on what we've covered thus far? I think we're probably going to shut the show down pretty quick here, but I'll hand it over to you for anything you want to cover, comment, anything further, save rounds, final thoughts, whatever, man. The floor is yours.
No, I mean, I think we said enough on this today. I'm just, as I said, I just hope people wake up. That's all. I think enough is enough.
Yeah.
That's how I'm gonna end it.
There's nothing. Yeah, man. Definitely. Well, hey, thanks for joining me tonight, man. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And sorry, I know it's was maybe a black pill episode, but it's very sad. Sad times. And
Yeah.
the only way that sad times can change is when we take actions. And this is what I'm just hoping.
Yep. We need to return to common sense around here, man, because
That's
it's
right.
just ridiculous. Things have gotten just far too ridiculous. We have too many threat vectors, too many risk factors, and they want to tell us that we should be interested in watching virtual reality simulations of ourselves getting nuked. Can you
Yeah.
believe this?
It's crazy.
Let's take a look at that. I haven't actually watched that yet. What do we got going here? Oh, you got to be kidding me. So this is a VR headset we're looking at, and I guess we're gonna get blown up.
Yeah. And you should have watched some of the comments, like look at some of the comments on the Twitter. It's like people
Oh
like
my
just
gosh.
talking about like oh, what's the best way to survive in this case? Do I jump in the water or like it's gonna happen? Like
Oh, this is creepy.
yeah.
Ugh. Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean they say if you can see that glow, there is no way around it. It's just instantaneous, so it's just gonna get you right away. If you're in this, I think it's I don't remember the radius of it, but some of those nukes are like that first blast radius is or that flash like burning everything alive.
Right.
I think it's like few miles. And then
Oh
after
my
that you
gosh.
have the whole radiation thing, but it's
Wow. Fun times with VR. Fun times with VR, everybody. Wow, my goodness. All right, Infidel. Well, let me shut
man.
that down. That's enough of that garbage. That is not entertainment. That is porn. That is fear porn. But hey, you know, VR. What a good time.
It is. Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening tonight, and I will have a live show this Saturday. So just tune into our Saturday live music for an Infidel Magic Carpet Ride. You can find me there and here on Boiler Room, only on Alternate Current Radio.
All right. That's right, everybody. There he goes. That's Infidel Pharaoh. And that's it. We're out of here. We're going to check out, and we'll join me for the Brian McLean Show tomorrow on TNT. Today's News Talk. That's TNTradio.live, 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central, 11 Eastern. Yeah. All right, everybody. That's it. We got to get out of here. I don't have anything else for you. Peace out.
That's it. Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.